What is up, everybody? Welcome back to a brand new episode of the Run Your Mouth podcast. It is nice to be with you guys. I'm sorry that I missed episodes last week. I was having a little bit too much fun porching. There are a few weeks in Run Your Mouth history where we've gone a whole week without them. And, I don't know. Too much time around other people. I had a whole episode ready to go the entire time. I just got to step up my game and make enough money for multiple hotel rooms so that I'm not crashing on the couches with other people, and then we'll be on a regular schedule with regular episodes. But I got a whole 2 days at home before I re-hit the porch. And I'm porching about as hard as you can porch. I don't know that any man could porch harder than I am right now. And so, guys, we're having a blast. My material's coming together better than ever. That last show that I did in Vegas is one of the funnest shows I've done of the whole tour. So we are cooking. Material's cooking, and I've got Chris Warren this weekend. I got BK Chris. So, the only reason that you really do the show is to let people know that they can come out and hang out with you on a porch and watch you drink more than you should and then regret it the next morning when you're supposed to do podcasts that are not going to go out. But this weekend, Thursday night, we're going to be in Rochester. Then we got Ontario, which I know that's a province. I can't see the actual name of it, but there's a spot in Ontario, and then there's another Canada spot that's closer to Montreal. And then we're in Catskills, New York. And then we're going to read it off real quick, people. Real quick. Go buy your tickets right now. Get excited. Raleigh, North Carolina, Hampstead, North Carolina, Myrtle Beach, which is a free show brought to you by YoKratom.com, home of the $60 kilo. And then back to Texas with Oklahoma City, Shreveport, Louisiana. I can already see that there's a mistake here because there's supposed to be another show in Galveston, which apparently I never listed for 4th of July. And then, last show I'll plug right now, if you go to, I'm going to be back in Houston, Texas. That's the only date that is not going to be on porchtour.com. But if you go to the Secret Group website, I will be back headlining the Secret Group. And it's cool that there's a couple clubs out there that will let me headline. All right, let's get into first some shenanigans. It's been a long and lot of travel, and so I do have travel gripes for you. And all right, but you know what? Why not take a couple of comments here? MNW wants to know 6.7. That's because that's how old this Run Your Mouth is. Yeah, this is 10 days ago. I put together this Run Your Mouth and then did too much porching and never got to it. Kaz, we needed you today for part of the problem. Actually, you didn't, because Dave recorded an episode today with Scott Horton, and while I will be running my mouth in a minute about Iran, Scott has a lot more information about that. Travis Dwyer, what's up, Robbie? You did awesome in Salt Lake City. Thank you. That is very nice of you to say. I felt like last year the Salt Lake City shows were like, other than Portland in the theater and a select few porches, I thought that they were the funnest shows of the whole tour. This past year in Salt Lake City, late Friday was the best show I had. Early Friday, early Saturday were both solid shows, but I didn't feel like they were, although I kind of want to move to Salt Lake City. It is so nice out there. That guy Keith who owned the Wise Guys, was cool. I feel like maybe I could do some work over there on the weekend that I'm not on the roads, and do a lot more skiing, which rejuvenates the spirit. All right, so let's, this is my first travel drive. I think this was my first flight out of the weekend, and I got to start making enough more money that I don't have to take these 7 a.m. flights from JFK, because 7 a.m. flights for JFK means that you're waking up at 4:30 in the morning to do the hour 10 drive to the airport, to get parked, to get onto the shuttle. And that's before you even get on a plane. And then you got to check in your bags. You got to go through the security. It is a long day to start 11 days on the road of porching when you got to wake up at 4:30 in the morning. But it's like a whole $300 cheaper. And then you also know that you're definitely going to arrive on time. Whereas any of the later flights get a little bit wonky. You start getting a little bit stressed out on it. And I was on this Delta flight, and they had a bathroom that must have been broken because it smelled like a portal to hell. But when I say a portal to hell, I don't mean like sulfur smells that you might kind of conjure in your brain as hell smells or shit smells. I mean the most potent version of urine that you've ever smelt in your entire life. Like, when urine gets so stale, it almost smells like you sliced open a fish and the guts are just leaking out. And the fish smell is so bad, you almost think that it smells like stale urine. Or if you've ever walked into a dive bar and you're like, really? Wow, these people are These people are really going for dive bar odors. They are not cleaning this bathroom. I mean, when you go into the bathroom of a dive bar, the whole dive bar, you kind of ignore that it smells like piss, and then you actually go into the bathroom, you're like, you guys are really going for dive bar right now. And so this plane had the worst bathroom that I've ever smelt on a plane in my entire life. By the way, before I continue, how are my levels? Can you guys hear me? I feel like I sound a little soft, but that might just be in my headphones. Do I sound all right to all you nice people out there? Anyways, let's continue here. So this bathroom had the worst smelling toilet I've ever smelt, I think, anywhere in my entire life, but particularly a potent urine scent. It wasn't a shit smell. It wasn't a vomit smell, which are all terrible smells. It wasn't a dead animal smell, also a terrible smell. It was a potent urine smell. And the door also had a problem that unless you actually took the half a second to push the door from the outside, the door wasn't closing automatically. And now it was a little bit more than that, because you had to actually piece together the puzzle in your head of, oh, the door's not closing. I'm going to have to do a minimal amount of work to close this door. But you went into the bathroom, you knew that it smelled terrible, you knew that there's people sitting all around the bathroom, and 99 out of 100 people that use the bathroom on this plane couldn't figure out how to, not only could they not figure out how to close the door, they just walked away like total cunts and pretended like it was going to close automatically. People are just so used to everything being automatic in their life that they just assumed that it was just going to close, or they just did that thing where they tried to pretend like they didn't realize that it wasn't going to close, and they didn't want to do the minimal amount of effort just to close the door. And I don't think there's ever been a moment, because I started trying to do the thing where I'm like, all right, I'm just going to ignore the urine scent and see if someone else, and nobody did. I got up and closed that door, I don't know, 60 times on this flight. 60 times I got up and I had to close the door on the flight because no one would close the urine door. The disdain I had for humanity in that moment of just processing just the truly mechanical, stupid nature of our fellow man. And that's why probably we shouldn't have democracy. You notice moments like that of just how, like, just the little bit of consciousness of, oh, me just leaving the door open on this airplane is gonna make us all have to smell urine. And whoever's closest to this door is going to have the most potent version of this urine. Maybe it's my obligation as the person who just used the bathroom to figure out how to close the door. And by the way, closing the door, we're not talking about going on some epic adventure where you're going to have to fight wizards and dragons and try and, I don't know, slay a dragon so that the village won't be killed. We're not talking about trying to cross a deadly body of water because there's only food on the other side or there's medicine on the other side, and it's going to be an epic tale of returning and going, look, I brought salvation to our village. We are literally talking about the puzzle piece of just figuring out that you just had to push it from the middle and not just leave it open. And 99 of the 100 people on this plane could not figure that out. And they just left it for me to have to get out of my seat so that the entire plane, I was the savior of that plane. Truly, Delta should be calling me up and giving me a little bit, one of those little flight wings that they wear, and then I could just start wearing, and people go, hey, how'd you get those flight wings? Are you a flight attendant? I'll be like, no, I was the savior of Urine FLight 1097, where every other moron couldn't figure out how to close a door. Anyways, that glimpse that I got into really just how absent-minded and mechanical other human beings are, and how little awareness that they even have for trying, or like some people made an attempt and then they were just too stupid to figure out the door, and then they just walked away embarrassed. I understand that. I understand being so stupid that you're looking at a door and you start to panic and you're like, is everyone on this plane going to realize that I'm too stupid to even figure out how to open up a door? And you do that little look around thing, and then you just try and casually walk off, pretend like it didn't happen. Those people I weren't mad at. But it was the ones that just assumed it was going to be automatic or didn't even make the attempt. They didn't even want to try. And I was like, how do I have to exist on Earth with these other human beings? All right, let's continue. I also do wonder this, because like I said, I'm a courteous individual. I try and think about my fellow man. I try and think about if I'm imposing on them. And I got upgraded. I was like on 12 flights over the last 11 days and something like that. I don't even know. And I got upgraded to first class on one of those flights. That's one of the perks of flying the same airline all the time. Like I said, if you commit to Delta, they'll be nice to you back, except for when they have planes with broken doors that reek of urine for the entire stench of the flight. But they serve meals on planes, which even in first class, the bathroom's not that nice. And there was this heavy set guy sitting next to me, starts off the plane ride, and he's pounding some snacks. Then they come over, hey, you want to? I'm like, no, I'm good. I'm not eating on this plane. And this guy orders, it's like the short ribs and like the tiramisu, and he polishes off of it. And I'm watching it. I was like, there's no way that this guy's not going to. And then he did. He had to shit on the plane. I saw it when he went into the bathroom for 10. I'm telling you that. And then I was just wondering, is that why that guy's successful? Is because he has no shame about this? And then on the same note, when I'm in like just in the airport or even coffee shops, and people just have full office meetings right next to you, Zoom calls, on their phone calls. You know how many times I have important phone and I just like, I can't talk to you right now. There's other people here. We're in public. I'm not going to make all these people listen to me yell about the business plans that we have. We'll just have to deal with this at another time. Like, I would never just start doing this podcast in the airport. I would never decide, you know what? I have an obligation to do this podcast. I don't care how many other people are sitting here quietly trying to get their work done. This is my time to podcast, so I'm going to impose on them. Do those people live better lives than us? All right, and then back to the urine door, and I'm kind of stealing from my friend Menu and Heart, one of my absolute favorite comics. I did the Black Captain with him. We did Rob's Newsroom. We've done a lot of work together. He used to have this absolutely brilliant bit. I'm not going to do it justice because he's a level 12 jiu-jitsu black belt comedic performer. I'm more of a strikes down the middle, tell jokes kind of guy. So I'm just giving you guys the premise. I don't even know if he does this joke anymore. Some of you guys have seen him on Porch Tour. He's done quite a few of them with me. But he used to have this great bit about that he was in the library once, and there was a sign that said no trombones in the library. And then he did a whole bit about how that meant the scene of the guy who had come into the library with the trombone that needed to be a sign there. And I'm going the other way with this. And I almost feel like we need more signs so that you can just be an asshole and just point don't be on your phone, close the bathroom door. I feel like there actually aren't enough signs in humanity that, it forces the random lady to have to be a Karen and just, correct other people's human behavior when they're acting like reprehensible human beings. And if we just put more signs on the wall to make it totally obvious of simple things like, hey, close the bathroom door when it smells like urine. That sign could have just been put by Delta right there, and you could have avoided that entire fiasco. There you go. I'm advocating for a world with more Karens and where institutions put up more signs about what the just basic etiquette of behavior will be, so that I can just sit there and not say anything, but then some lady, it's written right on the wall, hey, don't take your meeting in front of everybody while we're sitting here quietly. All right, I think I have one more random travel gripe, and then we can get into the news. I think that's oh, wait. I gotta share this. I gotta share this last one. All right, first is, I've noticed in a lot of bathrooms now, they have hand dryers now built into the sink, all right? And what's disgusting about the hand dryers that's built into the sink is that when it blasts, it ends up blowing a lot of the air. It's almost like, you ever see that Mr. Bean? And I'm sure it happened to you at one point in your life where you got too close to the sink, you ended up with the water on your pants, now it looks like you pissed yourself. Well, this is like that, but the dirty water from the sink just ends up spraying up in your face. But then I saw the grossest thing I've ever seen was when I landed in JFK, there was a dude. What do you guys think about brushing your teeth in public bathrooms? I would never do it. I would just be like, I think I'd rather have dirty teeth than to be getting the germs of all this onto my toothbrush and to be using the sink water from an airport bathroom to then be rinsing my mouth. I think I would rather just have dirty teeth. I think if I had to choose between brushing my teeth in an airport bathroom or having dirty teeth, I would go dirty teeth. But I watched this guy, not only did he brush his teeth in the airport bathroom, but they had like the Dyson hand dryers that you put your hand into. And now, by the way, this was in the airport lounge, and this guy was wearing like a full suit, looked rich, looked like a classy individual. And then he took the toothbrush to dry it in the bathroom hand dryer. He just stuck it down with the hot air going. And I'm like, how are you going to use that toothbrush again and not burn your mouth? How can you be this disgusting of a human being that you can't, you don't visualize. I know everyone should have washed their hands before they put it in there, but I don't even trust my own hands after I wash them once or twice. I got OCD. I go for a third washing. And now you're telling me that the people that all defecated in these rooms barely washed their hands, and then they were the grosser of the hand washing people, that they actually wanted to use the hand dryer, that you insert your hands into it, and you're going to stick your toothbrush into that? Like I said, people, the Run Your Mouth might have a small and loyal following, but at least I will take some pride in the fact that we don't have the people that can't figure out how to close airplane bathroom doors, or people that are shoving their toothbrushes into hand dryers so that they can re-brush their teeth in public bathrooms. Like I said, people say that it's good to get out there and it's good to travel and it's good to see the way that other people live, and that maybe you can expand your view set. And what I've learned from traveling is that people are even more disgusting and stupid than I possibly could have imagined. Just stay wherever you are, because wherever you travel to, you'll probably just have more of a disdain for humanity as you realize that there's people who are operating in ways that you couldn't even imagine that people could be that stupid. All right, let's take, actually, wait, before I take some comments, guys, this is Save and Porch Tour that some people are coming through and they're sponsoring the tours, the shows. It's kind of a steal. It's $250 to get the shout out on the podcast. I think that means you can deduct it from your taxes, hopefully drum up some business from the other fans that live in the communities. And then, you can bring a whole bunch of people on that one ticket. So it's not a bad buy. And so here are some of the recent Porch Tour sponsors. First is Dr. Gradden, who is out in Portland with the Center for Regenerative and Performative Medicine. I think he's doing some stem cell stuff, but it's not the stem cell stuff for your harvesting baby organs. They actually take it out of your own bone marrow. I was a little bit hammered when he started giving me the whole pitch, and I was like, can you fix my back and penis? And he was like, sure. And so, next time I blow out my back, I might get on a flight to Portland and have him shove babies into my back. But they're not actually babies, because I think he's doing it the other way. But anyways, if you live out in Portland, or you're a libertarian and you'd like to learn more about stem cells to correct any of your problems, Center for Regenerative and Performative Medicine. Next is theworldpeaceattempt.com. He was a really handsome Australian man. I don't know if I got inducted into some CIA thing where I pledged my allegiance to this guy's world peace attempt. Seemed like a bingo card of people just saying, hey, we're into the idea of world peace, but who knows what I got indoctrinated into. He was a very handsome Australian. But you guys can check that out, worldpeaceattempt.com. Next is John Popik. Didn't even show up to a porch store, but he's a loyal listener of the show. Decided to sponsor one of them. And then last one is As the Meter Turns, who I did an episode with and always has the good whiskey out in Texas. All right, let's take a couple of comments. RNW 2032 podcast on the plane. Not the worst idea. This guy, stopped with all of his shenanigans since I started yelling. So maybe that's what I should do. I already said it. It's like the Rob Schneider joke where he's sitting there and he's all nice, and then he starts singing the song on the guitar and he's saying all the things that infuriates him. Maybe I should start broadcasting all of these things while it's happening as loudly as possible, and seeing if I can instill instead of me being annoyed, maybe I can instill the shame back into the people who, honestly, we shouldn't have to share a planet with. Matzo balls, Freudian sloop, the entire stench of the flight instead of stretch. I don't know what that is. Robbie acting like he was Mark Wahlberg on the 9/11 flights. Exactly. I was the hero, and the people don't even know that I was saving them from that stench. Slop City. Hans Hermann Hoppe talked about this in his alt-right speech, called it TGE bad neighbor problem. Fair enough. All right, let's take two more and let's get into it. Matzo balls. Shit, Robbie. You never ran into a gas station that has a trash bag full of urine attached to a urinal? I probably have. Tennessee has particularly bad bathrooms. Red Letter Enjoyer. What's going on with Kristi Noem? I don't know. You tell me. You brought up the topic. What's going on with Kristi Noem? All right, one more. RNW 2032, maybe you can do an entertainment partnership with Delta. Or maybe just like it's an interview series where you go, hey, I'm confused about what you did there. Would you mind explaining it to me? You didn't realize you just left the you go the passive aggressive route. All right, let's get started. Brought to you by YoKratom.com. Home of the $6 kilo, only place in the entire world. You can get an entire kilo of kratom for just $60. Let's start with Iran. I throw it to you guys. I throw it to all you guys in the comment section. Do you think Trump knew ahead of time? Do you think Trump knew? Do you think Trump was doing the negotiations and then trying to let people know, hey, everyone's playing around with these negotiations with me. I want to let you guys, I mean business when I've got deadlines. Or he was pretending like they were still going to negotiate past the deadline to give cover to the Israelis. Do you think he knew the whole time? Or do you think that Netanyahu's got such a handle on Donald Trump that he's the one guy that can bitch out Donald Trump and go, all right, let's see how your negotiations go, and then thwart, continuing negotiations by just going, all right, we're gonna go get this war started. This is what we're really looking to do. And is it Trump's weakness that it's under Trump's watch and no other president's watch that Iran finally just went for it? I mean, I'm sorry, Israel just finally went for it and said, we're going to get this war started. Does Netanyahu have dirt on Trump or others in this administration? Because usually if you bitch out Trump, he'll turn around and just be like, we're done with that country. We were negotiating. We were going to get that done. And you guys went behind our back. We're the boss. We're the sheriff in town. We can't have people going behind our backs while we're trying to sort things out and help things out. So that's it. No more money. You guys are cut off. But that's not the way Trump went about it. Trump was seemingly had a deadline in his negotiations. A day later, they get struck. And then he gets on Truth Social and says, I knew the whole time. You guys think he knew the whole time? That's what happens if you don't stick to our deadlines. You better, and you know what? We were going to let you remain a country. Now we need a full surrender. Now we live in a very different time now, seemingly with the drone warfare. It seems to be a different game. This seems to be a play similar to what happened with the Ukrainians, where I guess you don't have to do full-scale investigations to be able to take out, and you don't need to use super expensive guided missiles and whatnot to be able to take out targets. Now, first is in the chat. What do you guys think? What do you guys think? Do you think Trump knew ahead of time, or do you think they bitched him out? Because if Trump knew it, and by the way, if Trump did know ahead of time, do you guys think it makes it impossible now to negotiate with Donald Trump because you're like, all right, this guy can't be trusted? Or do you think this gives him more leverage where people are like, oh, that guy really is crazy, and when he says that he's got deadlines, we better stick to these deadlines? Or do you think everyone's just turning around and going, all right, Israel really runs the show because Donald Trump didn't want this? And look at this weak, measly Donald Trump. Israel's so powerful that even they can turn their back on what Donald Trump is looking for and then force him to seemingly get their back in a fight. All right, let's see what we got over here. Slop City saying, Jacob Minslin, let's face it, Trump's just winging it. I'm okay with that. RNW 2032, Trump knows he was excluding Ron Paul from debate he hosted in 2011. I don't know what that means. Slop City, yeah, blackmailed Trump into pretending he was earnest about the diplomacy and are not correcting the record. You heard it here. Floppy Teats, hey, Robbie, you used the fewest amount of words for largest points with Dave. Love you, you bald Jew. Thank you, sir. Jacob Muslins, that dude's ego would not allow him to comply with something that he knew about. Well, that's the thing. Trump's ego is usually you go behind his back, he's going to slam you. Or at least he's going to have that moment for until he ADDs and moves on to the next thing of China tariffs or something else, where he's going to slam you and he's going to exert a whole lot of leverage. And then you just got to hope that someone else pisses him off more. And then he flips and then he just goes to the next thing. But I've been hearing chatter that Israel did him dirty. And then he got, and then he, as a save face, wanted to pretend that Israel will not go behind his back. But then on that note, you got to wonder if it's because Donald Trump gets really excited for when things are being blown up and working. And listen, I'm going to be doing an episode for my Zero Hedge podcast with Kyle Anzalone. He knows a lot more about the Iran stuff than I do. And it always, at the beginning of these wars, they always make it seem like, hey, this thing's practically won. We need everyone to support this because we can actually pull off a victory here. And if we pull off this victory, the world's going to be a better place. And if one theory, by the way, got validated, it's what I was saying, that the last time Iran struck back at Israel, it didn't actually strike back in a meaningful way. It just did it so it could pretend like it actually did something, because the fact that they're actually hitting targets this time, which seems to suggest that that the last time they could have, and they just chose not to. And so now you just got to wonder, how does this thing de-escalate? How do the current people remain in power if they just turn around and they go, all right, we're going to give up our nukes. We learned our lesson. And on the same note, it seems like at this point, Israel's just looking for a full regime change over in Iran. And on that note, correct me if I'm wrong on this one. And we're going to move on from the topic because there's bigger experts on this one. And I also just wonder to what extent Iran is a absolute threat to everybody in the world, or if that's just complete and total Israel propaganda, and why Israel is so anti-Iran. If I guess the other side of it is like they'd actually just be pretty cool and be getting along with people. Or maybe Iran is actually a natural enemy to Israel. It just doesn't affect any of us, so we shouldn't have our money or involvement in this fight. But I don't remember what I was saying. I tried to give it a big but so that I could remember what the point I was trying to make when I was going into that long-winded tangent. So I feel like there were two other things I wanted to say about the Iran thing, and that's why I loaded up that but now I don't remember at all, which is cool too. We can just move on to another topic. Anyone in the chat remember what brilliant point I was trying to get on the record right now, so in the future I could be proved once again to be 100% right with information that I pulled out of my asshole? Yes, I remember. That was good stalling by me. I remember. Okay. I seem to recall that just a couple weeks ago, Israel was telling us that this is the last hour. They're going to have bombs. This is their last chance, and we just got to strike them, and then we can keep them from getting it. And I was saying, well, if that's the case, then just go ahead and do it. Leave us out of it. And if it turns out that you were lying, it's time to break up because you're just trying to get us into another fight. And from what I'm seeing, they didn't completely get rid of the Iran nuclear program because there's that one location that they would need the bunker busters from us to do. So what can we at least say that they were lying about that a couple weeks ago when I had last brought it up on the show? All right, let's take a couple comments and then we'll get back into the Iran thing. Jacob Maslin, you were disgusting posturing. All right, David Whitmer, who's going to Rochester Porch Tour? Yeah, there you go. Rally the troops. Get everyone to come out for Rochester Porch Tour. Furious George, Israel and Iran were backdoor allies in the 80s and early 90s. Cousin Fat, it is Israel's last chance. Public opinion on Israel is going downhill forever. You see, that I believe is that Israel is so in the gutter in terms of public opinion that they're going, all right, everyone hates us anyways. We might as well just play the heel. And at this point, why are we even pretending? And let's at least get this thing done because I guess by the time, but you would think that this would be the administration with the America First backing, even though I guess maybe they got dirt on Donald Trump that he'll play ball. All right, this is from the Wall Street Journal. Isfahan is where Iran converts raw uranium into uranium feed gases for enrichment. The strike dismantled a facility for producing metallic uranium, infrastructure for reconverting enriched uranium, laboratories, and additional infrastructure, the Israel Defense Forces said on Friday. The International Atomic Energy Agency, which is in touch with Iranian officials, confirms that Isfahan has sustained considerable damage. The damage to Natanz, where enrichment capacity is buried underground, is less clear. I read the wrong paragraph. I'm out of sorts. It's been a lot of porching. Let's read the first paragraph. Destroy or at least significantly degrade Iran's ability to produce nuclear bound. As we write this goal hasn't been achieved. That was the one line I wanted to read. Is that Israel's claim that they could get it done. They just needed to strike it, and that would be the end of it. At least that isn't true. Now we've got a little bit of a break between Donald Trump and Tulsi Gabbard, because I guess Tulsi Gabbard and others in the intelligence community have said that Iran, they don't even really want a nuclear bomb. You keep hearing about how the Iranians want a nuclear bomb. They don't want a nuclear bomb. They got this religious thing that they said, hey, no building nukes. These are religious people. They understand if they're building nukes, everyone's going to get all mad at them. Scott Horton theory, they just want to be at a percentage of close to nukes so that there's that degree of nuclear deterrent, similar to countries like Germany, Brazil, and Japan. But they're not pushing for a bomb for offensive purposes. And this was Trump's response. I don't care what she said. I think they were close to having one. Trump said of Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard, who is slated to testify in a closed-door hearing on Capitol Hill on Tuesday. Because, now Trump's got to change gears, got to have Israel's back. Israel's out there saying, hey, imminent threat, this was our last chance. even though we've been saying that for 20 years. And so, Trump's got to flip gears. Now, let's listen to a little bit of Donald Trump on top of Air Force One addressing the situation. Roll the clip, producer man.
And are you open to negotiating with the Iranians right now, or do you want to wait?
I've been negotiating. I told them to do the deal. They should have done the deal. Their cities have been blown to pieces. They've lost a lot of people. They should have done the deal. I told them do the deal. So I don't know. I'm not too much in the mood to negotiate now.
Do you think you'll leave this?
I think that's one of the truest things I've ever heard Trump say is just that I'm not in the mood. And I wonder how many, listen, some of the loyalists here are going to go, that's just him being poetic. When he makes decisions, it's actually based off of intelligence, or the 4D chess that Donald Trump plays is because he's got the most incredible of all instincts. And so when he says it's just a function of not in the mood, he doesn't mean that he could actually sit down at a table, negotiate, and walk back the entire thing. But, they pissed him off a little bit. So he's not, no, he's not petty like that. He would always be working off intelligence. Are these guys actually going to get a bomb? Is Israel on the right? Should we be backing Israel? Could we act? I think that's the most odd thing you've heard is just, I'm not really in the mood.
Situation room tomorrow at any point?
Yeah. Tomorrow morning, girl, while you're sleeping. Goodbye, everybody.
And then here was a quick clip of Netanyahu on Brett Baer. And I don't remember what it was of, so let's give it a watch.
Of killing Iran's civilian leaders, just military commanders, I mentioned nuclear scientists, but not the supreme leader, Khamenei. There is a Reuters report just moving saying that President Trump in the last couple of days vetoed an Israeli plan to kill Iran's supreme leader, according to 2 U.S. officials. Is that true?
Actually, there's so many false reports.
First, I just want to pause it there and go, I don't understand why, if you could take out the leader and your whole thing is that this, wouldn't you have you guys don't have someone, Al-Qaeda, that we're now partnered with that you could go run Iran for us? So that in 20 years we could have a worse problem? You can't pull the Syria deal and then go in there and start pulling all the equipment out of the military sites? I don't understand why, amidst all the chaos, if this is the most evil regime and they're going to get a bomb and you could just take out the leader, and then I guess roll the dice or install. You got all your Mossad people out there. They managed to sneak all the gear in for the original attack. You guys don't have some Mossad guy who you can send to be a part of Al-Qaeda for a couple years and now be running Iran so that you guys can have a better partner in the region? I don't understand why if they have the ability to take the guy out, they want to leave him in. And then I guess if they got the ability to take that guy out, they could probably be taking the next guy and the next guy and the next guy out. And I think actually going after the leadership probably works better than killing off civilians. So I wonder what the Donald Trump strategy is in terms of, or maybe they want to give it 2 weeks. And, Donald Trump, he likes pulling that move where you sit down and you show the guy, hey, I got a picture of your house. I can hit you with this bomb. Do you want to play ball or not? And maybe that's what finally gets them to fold on their nuclear program completely. And then if he folds on his nuclear program completely, do his people continue to support him? Or then does he get thrown out of office because they go, hey, you're weak and you're a terrible dictator. And if we want a dictator, we're going to have a strong dictator. If someone's going to be bossing us around, making our lives miserable and dictating over us, you're going to have to at least pretend like you're building. That's part of the game. It's like Dr. Evil. You got to pretend like you're building nuclear bombs and you're going to go threaten Israel. And if you can't stand up to Israel, then you're not going to boss us around, you little bitch dictator. So if he just rolls over, I don't know that guy's going to be able to keep his job. Dictators got to be crazy. They got to go out there and dictate. But first is apparently Donald Trump has the capability to take him out, but doesn't want to. Maybe that changes in 2 weeks, or maybe you don't want to tell him that so he can find a new place to hide. But amidst the many lies that Netanyahu tells within this interview, some of the richest ones is going, how dare Iranians target our civilians? But here's his response on this one, which he doesn't really want to address.
Of conversations that never happened, and I'm not going to get into that, but I can tell you, I think that we do what we need to do. We'll do what we need to do. And I think the United States knows what is good for the United States, and I'm just not going to get it.
Okay.
That.
The Iran foreign.
All right, so here's some of the recent Donald Trump truth socials. Before we do, let's plug sheathunderwear.com, official underwear sponsor of the Run Your Mouth podcast. Fans of this show, you guys know that I love Sheath underwear. especially now. My legs are doing better. I'm doing more exercise, and I put on some weight. You don't want those fat thighs rubbing together. If you're exercising in the summer months, make sure that you got your sheath.com, loyal sponsor of the Run Your Mouth podcast. Going to keep everything cool, calm, dry, and collected. And of course, it will keep your fat thighs from rubbing together and creating forest fires between your legs. So sheathunderwear.com, promo code RYM, 20% off the greatest underwear that's ever graced the balls of man. 4 years running as a Run Your Mouth sponsor. We love Bobby the Bank. Looking forward to seeing him out in Colorado, and hopefully he'll get some training in and beat him up the Manitou Incline once again. All right, we got Donald Trump. America first means many great things, including the fact that Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. Make America great again. Somebody please explain to Cookie Tucker Carlson that Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. So, of course, you've got Tucker Carlson quite upset that Donald Trump and Fox News are trying to lie us into another war with Iran. I think a lot of the American firsters who have been very bought into Donald Trump are not liking the idea of that we are going to be spending more resources on potentially another war, and that it's going to be another war for Israel at that. And so, Donald Trump's got to be out there. And so first thing he goes, I invented America first. And remember, 4D chess, always trust Trump. Trump's always got a plan. And so, if Trump's going to say that this is what's America first, then don't listen to a guy like Tucker Carlson, because only I know what's America first. And these people, they're just not trusting the plan anymore. But I got great plans. I got great instincts. I go with my feelings. And if this is what I say is America first, then it's going to be America first. Anyways, does seem to be losing a bit of public interest, but, comes back out there. Dictator Trump, I get to define what America first is without any rhyme or reason. So if I'm telling you that Iran's going to get a nuke unless we stop them, and Iran can't get a nuke, then this is what's America first. And I guess that's how you America first your way into having another war. Here's the next one. Donald J. Trump, we now have complete and total controls over the skies over Iran. Iran had good sky trackers and other defensive equipment, and plenty of it, but it doesn't compare to American-made, conceived, and manufactured stuff. Nobody does it better than the good old USA. And then I'll read this one more. We know exactly where the so-called supreme leader is hiding. He's an easy target, but is safe there. We're not going to take him out, at least for now. But we don't want missiles shot at civilians or American soldiers. Our patience is wearing thin. Thank you for your attention to this matter. All right, so I guess he's using that as leverage for, listen, you're going to have to take some punishment, but don't even think about striking back at us, because while I knew that it was going to happen, I didn't actually do it. The other people did it. So, don't strike any American targets, because then we're going to kill you. But also, it's time to fold your country and have an absolute surrender. And listen, we will see from here how it plays out. I don't have enough of an understanding of this situation. It could be that, Israel's done such a good job over the last couple of years, got rid of Hezbollah, they got rid of Hamas, they took care of some of the air support. Maybe this is Israel's opportunity to actually flip Iran, and it won't be another 20-year war. Or maybe this is like other wars that they pitch at the beginning of, hey, this is our best opportunity to remove a threat, so we need you guys to back it, and we'll be quick and cheap with it. And then the second we waltz in and get started, you're 20 years later going, wait, how much is this going to cost us? All right. Matzo balls, let's take a couple comments. Jacob Maslin, it sucks other countries are having trouble, but I understand why that's a taxpayer problem in America. Matzo balls, Trump needs to switch his slogan to MEGA. I don't know what that stands for. David Whitmer, Netanyahu looks like a Flintstone character. That's not a bad call. All right. I think we're changing gears to our next topic, which is, you know what? Why don't we look at some of the news from last week? All the things I skipped. Let's do a quick roundup, because this is the problem with Donald Trump's America, is that the news is like schizophrenic, and you only got about 24 hours to play into the chaos of something before it goes away. The Trump bus storyline, that's already over. Are they friends again? Have they gone back? Have they made sweet, sweet love? Was Donald Trump actually in the Epstein files, but in a really bad way, and that's why he's getting Israel's back right now, and that's why they won't put out the Epstein files? How much did Donald Trump threaten Elon Musk's business that he was just going to walk away? And then all the people that were like, no, Doge isn't over. Doge is still happening. We just got to push this really big bill right now, but Elon Musk is still going to be involved, and don't you worry. Once they push the biggest spending bill ever down the line, they're going to figure out how to cut the thing back. And yeah, they're really serious about cleaning up the NGOs, and that's why they refunded everything that was in the initial Doge cuts. All right. I like this line. Firstly, I love the drama about whether or not Rand Paul was invited to a picnic. Personally, as an adult, I don't like going anywhere ever. I got my nephew's birthday party in a half hour, and I'm like, all right, I have to fucking go. So I just got home. Why do I gotta go to this thing? I don't want to see anybody. The second porch tour's over, I want to make sweet love to my couch, eat donuts, and not talk to a single human soul until my brain comes back and I'm rejuvenated for the next porch. But anyways, I thought that was hilariously petty amongst the political elite that Rand Paul even needed to make a statement about not being able to go to a picnic. I just want to go. I'm not that excited about picnics. If I find out I'm not invited to a picnic, I'm like, oh man, thank God. I don't have to go to that stupid fucking picnic. And then, of course, Trump's got to turn around. I would never not invite him. But that's the schizophrenia of the news. You get a whole day where you could have talked about, look, Rand Paul's uninvited from a picnic. And then you get to do a whole day of, look, he never, it was fake news. He wasn't ever not invited. All right, I think that's I like this line from Donald Trump, and I feel like it should be implemented across all of society, which was if you're spitting on cops or law enforcement, then they have the right to hit you. They spit, we hit. And, I think listen, I've never been into a fight my entire life. I'm a 5'6" tiny Jewish person. I have no interest in fighting anybody. I've even had moments in my life where I was the loudmouth where I nearly provoked something to a fight. I was like, all right, you win. That happened once in New York City. I was trying to find parking for like 2 hours, and there was a guy holding a spot, and I got into a big yelling argument with the guy about how you can't hold spots. And I'm pretty sure that this was like a Nigerian stripper because he was dressed like a cowboy, and he had the biggest biceps that I've ever seen. And then he came over to the car, and he opened up the door, and he went to punch me, and he goes, "Who do you fuck you think you're cussing at?" And I'm like, I'm sorry, man, you win. I'll leave. And he was disappointed that I bitched out that early because I think he was excited to knock me out. And he was almost confused that instantly flipped from being an aggressive Jew New Yorker of, you can't fucking hold spots. You can't fucking hold spots. Who the fuck you? Oh, no, you win. Anyways, I don't know why I felt the need to tell that story. Oh, yeah, because I'm actually taking Trump's side on this. Then in that case, maybe it should be that, you don't, at some point, you say enough things to another man. I think that there shouldn't be 20 years in prison and an assault charge for being punched. And so if we're going to extend that to the cops of spitting, I don't know how that works in polite society. If someone spits on you in the bar, are you legally allowed to hit him in the face? Because I don't think that should just be a cop thing. I feel like that should probably be a universal thing. All right. What other couple other random topics? Then I got to get out of here. And then I will be doing another episode later tonight with Kyle, which will be more of a deep dive into the actual Iranian situation. And you guys can catch that up on the Zero Hedge page as of tomorrow morning. Republicans subpoena Biden's doctor for probe into his cognitive health. Once again, I'll believe it when I see it. But, dude, absolutely go after Joe Biden. Absolutely. I mean, at this point, it looks like Donald Trump might just be another element of the deep state and more the Israeli side of the deep state and pitching wars. And so maybe that's why Donald Trump doesn't want to go after previous administrations and their corruptions. But, to whatever extent you guys want to actually figure out the storyline of when Joe Biden became completely mentally incapacitated to work that job and how many people were covering for him. And then we can start developing the storyline of why, even though he had so much dementia, Israel wasn't being this aggressive and at least had enough respect for Joe Biden to not go and engage in starting wars that we would then have to go fight in. But, I'm all for that one. Wrongly deported man returned to U.S. The most annoying storyline continues. All right, here's a fun one. We're doing a quick recap. I got to pee real bad. President Trump doubled down Wednesday on calls to scrap the nation's debt ceiling. Once again, this is last week's news, pressing for bipartisan action to abolish it and finding common ground with Democratic Senator Elizabeth Warren. And this speaks to what I've been saying when the whole debt thing was going on, is that Donald Trump is actually a socialist Democrat. I'm very pleased to announce that after all of these years, I agree with Senator Elizabeth Warren on something. The debt limit should be entirely scrapped to prevent an economic catastrophe. Remember, this country's got to spend as much money as anyone's ever spent in increasing fashions, because unless we do that without even trying to find the fraud or the waste in government, this thing cannot continue. The only way that this Ponzi scheme can continue is if we continue to figure out how to spend progressively more money. And if that means if every couple of years the pharmaceutical companies got to partner up with Fauci, shut down the entire government, and have this COVID thing and go, oh, it's the biggest emergency that ever happened. We're going to have to spend even more than we ever spend, because then once we hit that threshold, someone's got to come in and they got to beat that threshold. And once they hit that threshold, then they got to do another emergency where it's like, oh, look, remember all the money that we gave to Wall Street, and now they don't have enough money, so everything's collapsing. So if we don't give them even more money, then the whole thing's going to collapse, and it's an emergency. And we go, oh my God, it's an emergency. We better spend more money than everyone's ever spent ever. And then you got to keep it at that level, because you can't ever reduce it. If you ever reduce it, you're going the wrong way. No reductions. Increase because of emergency. Emergency is over. Well, we're up here now, so we can only go higher, because that's the only way that you keep inflating the Ponzi scheme. You start washing money out of the system, all the bubbles start collapsing, so you got to come in with more and more and more and more. But there you go. Hey, for all you people that, hey, Donald Trump, American first conservative, not a secret social democrat, well, here he goes. The debt limit should be entirely scrapped to prevent an economic catastrophe. It is too devastating to put in the hands of political people that may want to use it, despite the horrendous effect it could have on our country and indirectly even the world. As to Senator Warren's second statement on the $4 trillion, I like that also, but it would have to be done over a period of time as short as possible. Let's get together, Republicans, Democrats, and do this, because if there's one thing we can all agree on, it's that this country needs to be spending more money. All right, here's two other Donald Trump True Socials. Our deal with China is done, subject to final approval of President Xi and me. It's done. It still hasn't been approved. I can't give you the details, but it's done. All right. Full magnets and any other necessary rare earths will be supplied up front by China. Likewise, we will provide China with what was agreed to, including Chinese students using our colleges and university, which has always been good with me. And of all the things we shat on Trump for, if you guys remember, we said that one might actually be a good idea, or at least the further screening of Chinese students before they're studying in the United States of America. Like one of these Iranian guys who they just killed apparently studied at MIT. And you would think, hey, if Iran's the worst regime ever and they're interested in building nukes, maybe people from that country shouldn't be able to come over here. Instead, now I might have that story wrong, that he might have been from somewhere else, and then after he trained at MIT, then went to Iran and I guess started building them nukes. But, you know, having advanced screenings for Chinese students to not be able to study, you know, physics in the United States of America, that one made sense. So it's funny that he would walk that one back and go, oh, yeah, even though I very aggressively said it, that was never my position in any capacity. Or I never said it, just someone in my administration said it. It's like the old Biden thing. That wasn't the position of the White House. Sure, we channeled a very strong and firm opinion, but that was never my personal attitude or the way I personally felt about it. So when it seems like there's a complete and total 180, it's not because I changed my mind. And I wasn't even negotiating on that one. It wasn't even that I threw out some crazy bonkers shit to negotiate. I just somehow we ended up with something that made no sense and I wasn't into, even though of all the things I've said, this one was actually practical. All right. And then here was the this one. We're going to do this one, and then I'm going to go back to the last slide. And I got to squeeze in some sponsors. So PhoenixAmmo.com, everybody. We're talking about wars over here. We're talking about all these battles going on all over the world and the problem with our deep state and all the money that they spend. And so you as a consumer, if you want to get your bullets from a company that will not sell to the United States government, wants no part of the military apparatus, wants no part in this war, which also means they're not getting any handouts. They're not getting any just great government contracts that they can, you know, they're actually responsible to the consumers and making a good product, because otherwise they'd be out of business. And that's how you know that they got quality stuff. So go to PhoenixAmmo.com and let the good people over at Phoenix know that I sent you. Go stock up. All right. I think we're going to cover this slide before it, and then we're going to call it a show. And then I will be back at some time in the future with another episode, and we'll figure out a flow. I don't like, I like being able to run my mouth at least twice a week, because otherwise, the topics get stale. All right. Donald J. Trump, our great farmers and people in the hotel and leisure business have been stating that our very aggressive policy on immigration is taking very good, long-time workers away from them, with those jobs being almost impossible to replace. In many cases, the criminals allowed into our country by the very stupid Biden open borders policy are applying for those jobs. This is not good. We must protect our farmers, but get the criminals out of the USA. Changes are coming. And I guess, listen, Donald Trump is not the Constitution. He doesn't write like a constitutional lawyer. And so, you know, maybe what he's saying is that until we get all the criminals out, we shouldn't deport the good, honest people that actually work these jobs, because then those jobs might get filled by the criminals and we're only helping the criminals. Maybe you want to read it that way. Maybe you want to go, that's why you had the second part in here, because only, the first part only exists in order to excuse the second part, but he still wants to deport everybody. But the way I'm reading this is it sounds like a sudden admission that, firstly, some of these foreign workers are actually necessary to the American economy. And two is what happened to, isn't the American jobs the most important part? And why is it just the American jobs in the hotel, leisure, and farming industries that are able to lobby the government and actually explain their story to Donald Trump? What about all the small businesses out there that rely on these foreign labor? So it's just preferred treatment. That's the American first philosophy, is that if you get, if you're a big enough company that you can get in Donald Trump's ear and you can plead to him, you can plea your case to him, then your business can continue to use foreign workers. But and that's central planning right there. Donald Trump with his 4D chess, he can pick specifically which companies and industries need the foreign workers. But you, as an entrepreneur, you're trying to build your business, you better hire an American. Sounds to me like Donald Trump has just turned his back on the entire thing of everything's got to be an American worker. And I'm curious, for all you people that have been screaming American worker, are you furious with Donald Trump about this? Or is this 4D chess once again? Trust the plan. He knows exactly what he's doing. He's not turning his back on his policy. This is not central planning. This is not preferred industry treatment. He knows exactly what he's doing all the time. Are you guys finally criticizing him as maybe he doesn't know what he's doing? But then it's schizophrenic, because the reporting the next day was that Trump officials live short-lived pause on ICE arrests at farms, hotels, and restaurants. So, you know, I don't know. Maybe the guy's just trolling all the time, and he just floats this shit out to see if the base is too upset about it. And then he goes, no, I didn't mean it. And then they go, oh, we can still trust the plan, even though he seems to change his mind all the time. All right. This is the last Donald Trump thing for today. And then we'll cover the slide that I skipped. Trump disclosure shows $57 million in earnings from early crypto push. So you've got Donald Trump. He's making a lot of money all over the place. He's got licensing deals. Mar-a-Lago fees have doubled. The kids are out there. They're making hotel licensing deals. And then you've also got Trump earned $1.3 million in royalties from the Greenwood Bible, which Trump branded God Bless the USA Bible. And he also made money off of his sneakers. I think some of this was before he was actually in office. But Mar-a-Lago is definitely currently going on. And I can't say if he's more corrupt than, for example, the Clintons were or the Bidens were. I don't think so. But it is a little bit interesting when you got the guy currently in office and they're going out there and they're slinging merchandise. And so now the newest piece of merchandise, which while Donald Trump is giving a hard time to companies like Apple, and he's making it harder for them to just go ahead and conduct their business in the way that they want to do it, he now wants to step in with the company that he's also creating policies for to make what they're doing more difficult. It seems like a little bit of a conflict of interest, but I guess he wants to pave the way and showcase America first. Now you can manufacture products in the USA, and that's why he's got the Trump phone. So let's read the reporting about the golden new Trump phone. This is from the Wall Street Journal. Despite language in the press release, Eric Trump, one of the president's son, indicated that the first wave of phones wouldn't be built here. What? You can build the phones in the United States, the Trump told podcaster Benny Johnson Monday after holding up a gilded device that looked like an iPhone. Eventually, all the phones can be built in the United States of America. We have to bring manufacturing back here. So it's possible, even plausible, that these phones would initially come from China because at the price point, only Chinese makers like Xiaomi and Oppo have hardware to match. There's absolutely no way you can make the screen, get the memory, camera, battery, everything in the U.S., said Tao Wai, a professor of operations management and business analytics at Johns Hopkins University, Carey Business. Day estimated it would be at least 5 years for the U.S. to establish infrastructure necessary to make made in USA smartphones a real possibility. He also played down the push to move smartphone manufacturing to the U.S. more immediately. The focus is on building technologies such as semiconductors and medical devices. And then I went to Twitter Gronk, just to ask, how many parts from, let's just assume that they actually assemble these in the United States of America. How many parts from the Trump phones are sourced in America, or where are they sourced? And you guys can read this on your own time, but it seems like they're basically buying Chinese phones. And if they aren't buying Chinese phones, it seems like every component, piece, and part within the thing will have come out of China to then have been assembled within the United States of America. But hey, you know, I would think every single thing other than the raw minerals, that should be an American job. How is it that you can build a business here and create jobs here off of raw materials? Even the raw materials maybe you shouldn't be able to get. I mean, the steel industry, we're making tariffs on steel. If you're a car manufacturer and you've got all sorts, oh wait, but I think Donald Trump might have changed that one because, once again, preferred player. But I mean, if you want to live by example, maybe even the raw earth material shouldn't be coming from another country. I mean, you should be leading the way for all the American jobs that can exist off an American product. You shouldn't be up the kind of manufacturing stream where you're taking the raw materials from another place and then building something here and then selling it and creating American jobs, because every of the root products could have been an American job. But there you go. Trump at his best. How you loyalists feeling about all this? You guys still love it? Are you still all on board? Are you still just trusting the plan? Are you still giving me a hard time for everything I got to say about Donald Trump? But here's where we are at the moment. And like I said, he's tough to bet against because he's schizophrenic, might change his mind tomorrow. And when he does, it's because that was always the plan. All right, that's our show for today. Once again, I'll probably do another one on the road because I'm out on the road with BK Chris, and he's always fun to podcast with. So we'll probably do another one. That one might be only up on the website. We'll see. I don't know. 2 episodes coming out this week for the Zero Hedge thing. Recording tonight with Kyle. I got another guest to dig into basically how funded all of the rallies were. Other than that, I think I'll be probably doing a part of prom at some point. But porchstore.com. Wild amount of porches coming at you this weekend. Got 2 up in Canada, 2 in upstate New York. Next weekend, Raleigh, North Carolina, Surf City, Myrtle Beach, free show brought to you by YoKratom.com. And then we were out in Texas, which apparently one of my dates isn't listed, which is really stupid because now it's only 2 weeks away, but I mess these things up all the time. Galveston, July 4th, fireworks, bring the hot dogs, bring the coolers, get the beers. That link will be up shortly. And then doing Oklahoma City, Shreveport, Louisiana, the secret group, that ticket is on their website. And then I don't know what's lined up after that, but there's certainly more porches. I know I'm doing Minnesota again, and then I got a couple more that I haven't lined up yet. And I could really use a night off to eat donuts and make sweet love to my couch. JD Van style. I saw you guys in the comments saying that. All right, let's read a couple comments. Jackson Danger, you and Dave should run for the Libertarian nomination in 2028. I have no interest in presidential or party politics, and I feel like Dave flirted with that one already. Slop City, imagine that. You can't just build manufacturing infrastructure in the U.S. on a whim. But that was the Donald Trump plan, is the central planning. No, you can. If I just order it, then you can. If I wave my wand, then you can. And I guess that's an admission from him now that you can't. But to the Trump loyalists, even so, Donald Trump knew all these things when he said it. And it was just because if he said it, it was a negotiation tactic, because then it might get people to actually want to do it faster, even though he knows it could have never been done. Bro smoking Biden crack if he thinks I'm a biased phone. All right, that is the episode. Thanks for hanging out with us. Back probably over the weekend with another one. Until next time, my friends.